Orders are out, and they are chilling. Not for defense alone, but for survival. As fears of a US ground strike grow, Tehran appears to be preparing for something far more dangerous. Not just a war at its borders, but a fight that could erupt inside its own cities. A new phase of preparation appears to be unfolding inside Iran, as authorities move to brace for the possibility of direct confrontation on the ground. Amid rising tensions and growing speculation about the next stage of the conflict, reports now suggest that Tehran is taking steps to prepare not only for external threats, but also for instability within its own borders. According to a well-placed source cited by the media line, a newly issued directive from bodies operating under the General Staff of the Armed Forces has been circulated to military and security units across the country. The order, aligned with decisions taken at the highest levels, including the Supreme Defense Council and the Supreme National Security Council, outlines measures to ensure readiness for a potential United States ground assault, as well as to counter possible diversionary or disruptive operations in major cities. The directive instructs units to secure sensitive locations, establish deployments, and prepare for potential hostile intervention across multiple regions. It also authorizes commanders to act independently, without waiting for central approval, under a fire-at-will, atash bi-ekhtiar posture. This decentralized approach, echoing Operation Valkyrie, suggests authorities are preparing for scenarios where communication networks or command structures may be disrupted. It also points to expectations of a major escalation, including a possible US ground incursion and attempts to seize southern territory or strategic islands. Reports suggest that messaging from opposition groups, alongside circulating claims regarding organized armed units, has heightened the sense of urgency within the leadership. These concerns appear to be compounded by recent developments in the region, including increased United States military deployments and repeated references by American officials to the possibility of ground operations. Public warnings have also emerged from senior Iranian figures, cautioning against any attempt to target strategic locations. Farzin Nadimi, a senior fellow at the Washington Institute and an analyst of Iranian military and security affairs, told the media line that a US ground operation aimed at temporarily controlling certain islands or coastal positions overlooking the Strait of Hormuz appears plausible.
What appears more likely in the near term is not a full-scale ground invasion, but rather limited, selective, and complementary ground operations, such as special forces missions and efforts to temporarily control certain islands or strategic coastal positions overlooking the Strait of Hormuz. Such a scenario differs fundamentally from an all-out ground war, yet remains costly and high risk. Entering mainland Iran for occupation or deep advances would require a large force, substantial logistical support, and sustained political will, factors that could quickly turn the conflict into a prolonged and attritional war.
Areas near the Strait of Hormuz are seen as particularly significant due to their importance to global shipping routes. Previous reports, including an audio recording attributed to a Basij commander, indicate that contingency plans for urban combat scenarios are also being considered. Instructions reportedly include dispersal tactics and readiness to engage hostile forces in densely populated areas. At the same time, some state-linked analysis has suggested that Iran could respond to any ground incursion by targeting regional coastlines, further underscoring the potential for escalation beyond its borders. The war with Iran may be approaching a decisive turning point as the United States quietly prepares for a possible expansion that could bring American troops onto Iranian soil. According to US officials, the Pentagon is making contingency plans for weeks of ground operations, with thousands of soldiers and Marines already moving into the Middle East. While any such mission would stop short of a full-scale invasion, it could involve targeted raids carried out by special operations forces alongside conventional infantry units. Officials emphasize that these plans remain under consideration. and no final decision has been taken by Donald Trump. The potential operations would expose American forces to significant risks, including Iranian drones, missile strikes, ground fire, and improvised explosive devices. Despite these dangers, planning has been underway for several weeks, reflecting growing concern over the trajectory of the conflict. The administration's messaging, however, has been mixed. Trump, speaking March 20th in the Oval Office, told reporters,
"I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you, but I'm not putting troops."
Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, speaking in France on March 27th, told reporters that
The operation is ahead of schedule, and the US can achieve all objectives without ground troops.
However, reports from multiple outlets suggest that additional forces, potentially numbering in the thousands, could still be sent to the region. Discussions within the administration have reportedly included the possibility of seizing Karg Island, a critical hub for Iran's oil exports. Other options under consideration involve raids on coastal installations near the Strait of Hormuz, aimed at neutralizing weapons capable of targeting commercial and military shipping. Officials suggest such missions could last from several weeks to a couple of months. The human cost of the conflict is already mounting. Over the past month, 13 US service members have been killed in various incidents, including drone strikes and a plane crash, while more than 300 have been wounded in retaliatory attacks across the region. Many of these injuries have been linked to missile and drone strikes targeting American bases. Public opinion in the United States appears firmly opposed to a ground war. On March 28th, thousands marched through the streets of Los Angeles, New York, Dallas, Philadelphia, and Washington during a No Kings protest. The demonstrators in Los Angeles and elsewhere protested the war in Iran, aggressive deportation efforts, and other policies in the third round of the No Kings rallies. Trump's approval rating has fallen to 36%, its lowest point since his return to the White House, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll. Military analysts warn that any ground operation would carry significant risks. Holding territory such as Karg Island could prove especially challenging, given Iran's capacity to launch sustained drone and artillery attacks. Some experts argue that more limited, mobile operations targeting coastal threats may be a safer alternative, allowing US forces to avoid prolonged exposure. The deployment of units such as the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit underscores the level of preparedness, though logistical constraints could limit how long such forces can operate without reinforcement. Within Washington, political divisions are also emerging. While some lawmakers have called for decisive action, others, including members of the president's own party, have voiced strong opposition to placing troops on Iranian soil, arguing that strategic objectives can be achieved without a ground campaign.